Well, hello, everybody. Look who my special guest is here today. I am so glad. It's been a while, Trevor, to see
Yes, it has.
John virtually. At least we're seeing each other.
Right.
And Trevor's here today to talk to me about his new film, A Good Enough Day. Of course, you know him as Tucker McCall on The Young and the Restless. This is an amazing film. Thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you again. This is such a profound film. And I hope everybody watches it. It's available now on Amazon and Apple Plus. It dropped this week on February 13th. Um, I would definitely recommend everybody sit down for an hour and a half and watch this film. It is a beautiful, intimate portrait portrayal by Trevor,
Mhm.
and it really touches on so many life issues, as I would say. But can you please talk to me a little bit about so the overall arc of the film is that your character Tyler is terminally ill and
Mm.
he's trying to tie up loose ends before he passes away or
Yes.
decides to move forward with how he wants to pass away. Um, this was a family affair, right? It was a lot of people involved in your family. Can you take me through the process of even?
Yes, yeah, it was indeed a family affair. My stepfather, Don Hamilton, who's been a professional filmmaker, cinematographer, still photographer in Spokane, where I grew up for 40, almost 50 years. And during the pandemic, he said, it's not too busy, and we have the means to shoot a feature, which we've always wanted to do. And he said, if you can work within these parameters, budget, and other parameters, let's shoot something. And he said that he proposed that to me and my cousins slash brothers, who I grew up with, Brett Clothier Sharman and Graham Sharman, who are phenomenal writers, amazingly talented guys. And so we set out to work to find a screenplay, a story that worked within those parameters. And since he's got this beautiful studio in which the film is set, I said, okay, let's set it there because the big, the big uh, users of budget in a film are company moves, number of days shooting, and on and on. So if we found the one set, and that studio has different sets built in within it, editing suites, audio suites, catwalks, different places. And so we said, okay, let's make it about a photographer. Now we know who it's about. What's the story? And Graham, we had a spitball session, and after the spitball session, he took a shower, and so often happens when you're relaxing, you're laying on the couch, you're taking a shower. So, oh, what if it's his last day on Earth? And then we said, okay, how do we make that a problem? Well, there's, his relationships. Life's always about your relationships, right? And so he has to, in the course of one day, mend the mistakes made by over 10 years, made over 10 years, because he's been absolutely consumed with and shackled by grief from a devastating loss in his life. And I know all that sounds, oh man, this sounds like a real downer. You wouldn't call it that, would you? At
No,
all? No,
no,
it's not a downer at all.
no. It's not a downer, but I have to say, I'm also like you put me in front of a movie like such as this. I love all the drama and the heartbreak and the tug of it but this was there are so many it's you in much of the movie. You are director of this movie as
Mhm. Mhm.
which I was literally, you're kind of mind blown. You're like, okay, well, he's in every scene
Mhm.
and he's a director of this.
Mhm.
And how do you separate yourself? Like, how do you go about it in the process? You're the director, but you're the actor.
Right.
And, like, does it get complicated for you, or is it better to be the director of this project of your own project, which
Well,
is
you can. The nice thing is you can be the director that you always wanted to work with. And I've worked with fabulous
yes,
directors over my career. But the one thing that you hope is that they'll essentially leave you alone, or whatever direction they give you is just a nudge here
sweet.
and a
Yeah,
little tweak here and there. Because I always felt, well, listen, if you hired me, then you should trust me that I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to fulfill your vision. So what I would do is just set up the shot. And I was also fortunate to have Don, who's a great cinematographer, and also Brett Clothier-Sharman was able to be on set. And so I really utilized those guys. When I'd yell cut, or actually Don would yell cut, I'd look to Don and I said, picture, and he'd say, yeah, we got it. And then I'd look to Brett and I say, story. And he'd say, yeah, we either got it or we need to go again. Because when I left, took my director hat off and put the actor hat on, I let all the directing, all the idea of the way it should go aside, like a director normally would be doing. How's this going? How's this fitting in? Is this the right way? And just let myself fly as an actor. So I relied heavily on those guys. And I just felt like if I had the shot, there's really not much else to do. And I've said in other interviews, there's probably a mixture of ignorance and arrogance that led me to believe that I could direct this thing. There's also a little bit of a freedom, and I had no expectations for myself. I'd never done it before. So you could want to go one of two ways. You can say, well, I've never done it before. Let me get all stressed out about it. Or I can say, let me just see what I do. Let's find out how good I am at this.
And I've gone to many of your feature films. I've watched you in your feature films, and your work is always sensational. And you're right. This is like you're directing and acting, and it's like,
Yeah.
how's this going to be? When you were crafting this film and the writing of it, because you also co-wrote this film.
Yes. Yeah.
I think one of the beauties of it, and this is what also about you too, like you never knocked. It was so beautiful because you're not knocking people over the head with it. It's
Yes.
not so on the nose. You
Yes.
leave
Thank
it
you.
to interpretation. There's a beauty in I, as the viewer, understand what's going on. I don't have to have him spell it out for me.
Yes.
I'm getting this. And there was such beauty in that from scene to scene that I thought it was I guess very intelligently done.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to hear you say that, because that was kind of one of our missions. And that, of course, we wanted to move people. Of course, that's number one always, and have it be thought-provoking. But secondarily, we wanted to make the kind of film that we kind of feel is in short supply these days. And that's a film that respects its audiences. I've said this many times in print, but it's really still rings true. Respects its audience's emotional intelligence and intuition, and that they don't need to be led by the nose. They don't need everything spelled out for them. You have to give them more credit. And I just see too many films these days, a majority of films, no, we can't possibly let anyone wonder anything. We can't have them not have all the answers. They can't pay attention. So we have to have them cut after cut after cut. And we have to have swelling music because we want to always from the first image, because they have to know how important it is. Well, if it's so important, why don't you just let it be important? Let them fill in the blanks. And so I couldn't be happier that you said that, because that's really, we wanted to make a movie that we wish other people were making for us. I mean, I can barely go to them now. Ugh.
I'm like you too.
Am I an idiot? Do you think I'm an idiot? That's what I feel like.
I know.
Yeah.
And what's so great about this, and I'm not gonna spoil that, but by the full end of the movie, I feel all our questions are answered.
Yeah. So you have to answer the questions. It's not as
And
if
it's not like you're not leaving people hanging in any aspect,
no.
but you went about it in a way that isn't like, this is a story we're going to tell you, and this is how we're getting here.
Right. Right.
And that's what I so appreciated about like the whole project.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't be happier again that you said that, because that's precisely, you have to reveal everything. By the end, everything must be revealed. The question is the timing. The question is the intensity with which you peel layers away of information. And the goal is to say, wow, have the audience thinking, I'm not sure I know precisely what's going on here, but man, I can't really look away, and I want to know. I want to see what happens
I
next.
want to know what happens next.
Trusting that these filmmakers know they need to satisfy me, and they know they need to answer all the questions I have, or I'm going to be pretty angry at them by the time those
By the
credits.
time I spent them out.
So by the time when we knew all your questions have to be answered by the end, we're just not going to front load it with you so you can so you feel comfortable the entire time.
So
Yeah.
when you guys crafted the film and the writing of it, and you kind of went through scene, because there's like, there's scene to scene, so much that's internally going on with the character and then going on with the character.
Mhm.
Did you craft it in a specific order that you knew, obviously, that would have to unfold, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
in the shooting of it for you as an actor, did you shoot things out of order or did you linearly
We
shoot?
did have to shoot some things out of order, but we did our best to shoot chronologically. Yeah, we did. In fact, we shot the second to last scene on the first day. We shot the last scene through, I think, halfway through shooting. But we tried to do our best, and it might have been easier than we made it, because we were in such a small location. But it was almost as if we were shooting like a regular film, even in this small location. We'd still want to move as short a distance as we could, even as from the kitchen to the lobby or something like that, you know. And I have so much experience shooting out of order. I mean, it's really
Well, of
not a big
course,
deal for me.
for you, yeah.
Yeah. And the rest of the crew is so, and again, I relied on Brett to say, okay, is this flowing nicely, seamlessly from scene to scene, even if it's out of order. So, yeah, and then as far as the sequence of the scenes, we just wanted to keep making this circumstance more difficult and more difficult and then
It was
difficult and almost impossible by the end.
it was impossible for him by the end. It was kind of
Yes.
you could see as it played out, the more it was getting to him, like it was the more it was just it was so sad.
Yeah.
Uh, there was a line said by the doctor to
Hmm.
him towards the end of the film, no one knows what it's like to be in your shoes. You did the best you could. And that line stuck with me so much. And what I found about this is I've been in situations where, and other people, I'm sure, you know, you're going through one thing and the people on the other end of the phone are going on with their lives. And, what do and there's a disconnect, of what that is. And no one knows what it's like to, unless you've experienced, obviously, to be terminally ill or dealing with a terrible disease and or feeling such grief that you've never overcome and lost. I mean, it does deal with grief, despair, illness, so many things.
Mhm.
But that I think is very true to life. No one knows what it's like to be in anybody's shoes. So how can
That's right.
anyone judge anybody else?
That's exactly right. And we did our best to make this man not all one thing or the other. If you heard just you have the other end of those phone calls he was on, you think, well, this guy's a real, piece of work. Why would anyone be? But then you realize as you go through, oh, he really suffered, and he didn't choose the grief, and maybe he made some choices out of that grief. Maybe he did not do enough to resist being all consumed by it. But as you say, as you point out, how can anyone know what that's like to go through what he did? And it does not, those choices doesn't that you make, even if they're not the best choices, doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just maybe you made a wrong choice out of something that you had no control over. And there's hope, you know.
Um, there was the scene with the sister, and I think I read this in articles and interviews you've done. So those were literally, they're talking to you right there, and you're doing the scene,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So, and you're reacting to what's coming back to you. I mean, the scene with the sister
Hmm.
early on in the film broke my heart because you just watch Tyler, your character's reaction to this,
Yes.
hearing it, and he's got a different agenda. He's trying to make get
Yeah.
in touch with her, and she's not having it. And
Right.
you're watching him just fight back tears and not know what to do. And what was that like? And did you not know what they were going to say, or did you know what they were going to say?
Well, in those calls, what happens is a really unique way of shooting. We gave each character a very detailed biography. In particular, the detail of their relationship with Tyler, and their home life, their particular family life, in the present day. but we didn't tell them anything else.
Mm.
So none of those actors were ever told. They never got the full material. We just said, here's what you know about this man. Here's in great detail what's happened in the past 10 years and maybe even before. And so that's all we're going to tell you. And he's going to call you and you answer the phone as if this is all you know, right? Because that's exactly what would happen.
Right, so what happened? They're not going to know.
And then what we did is we gave very specific guideposts of where we needed, because we didn't want to just make it a free for all. It wasn't improv. It was just this bit of information has to occur. This bit of information has to occur. This bit of information, and it was up to me to lead it there. Because I knew I had to end this. We said, you got to get going. Here's why you need to go to the actor. Here's why you need to leave. When you hear him say this, or this is when you need to cut it off, but you don't know anything else. And so we didn't know exactly how long that call and the other calls were going to go. And so it was a very different way to shoot. It was very risky. But once we shot that first scene with the sister, oh man, I think we might be able to get away with this.
That's what I was thinking. Like you had
Yeah.
that scene, and that's a through line throughout. You see how those calls go,
Right.
and you're watching kind of what we're experiencing through your eyes,
Right.
knowing because we all know as the audience what's really happening here.
Yeah.
And they on the other
And they
line,
don't. Right.
they don't.
And they
So
literally, the actors literally
they
did
did,
not.
which is brilliant.
We're just pretending they didn't know. They didn't know.
Which is brilliant to
Yeah.
do that.
In fact, when the great actress that played Lisa Fuller, we never said anything about the story, and I don't want to, if I want to give anything. Well, you already said it in the opening. She said she improvised. It's okay. She improvised. What are you sick or something?
Yeah.
You see the look on my face, like, wait a minute. Somebody tell you something?
Somebody tell it.
Yeah. But she was so intuitive, you know. And then one thing you might like to know regarding the calls is the final call with my daughter, with Tyler's daughter. That is one in which I didn't know what was going on with her. I had no idea. So Brett and Graham crafted her story, what's happening with her, and deliberately withheld it from me. I mean, I knew they were going to. I said, I don't want it. Withheld it from me. So Brett and Graham were the only two people on the set who knew everything. And so in that moment, I didn't know. And so what you're seeing is me, what's recorded and what's in the movie is me hearing this information for the very first time. So we needed to make sure we got that shot technically perfect. So we did a lot of technical rehearsals because we wanted to I didn't want to have to act it. So we got that down technically perfectly, and then we shot it, and we just did it in one take. So all that information, everything she says, is the first time I've ever heard it.
It was an amazing scene. So for most of these scenes, were these one takes, or did you have to do several
Most
times?
of them were one takes. Yeah, we did multiples with the kid who played the photography student, Kevin. We shot that more traditionally, more scripted, much more coverage. So that actually took a full day that scene to shoot. We did several takes of the call with my ex-wife, played by the great Sherry Song of One Life to Live fame.
Yep.
And so yeah, but we did the final scene, the very end was one take, shot with simultaneous cameras, shooting across, shooting singles, medium singles.
The scene in the church. I mean, that's when we're starting to see him we get a bit more information, I think.
Yeah,
and
yeah, right.
A little bit more, he's trying to be so stoked, but what was that like? She was wonderful.
She's never acted a day in her life.
I had a feeling she wasn't an actress.
Not an actress, has no desire to be an actress.
So how did she come into this?
Well, we we added that element of the script because we thought, wow, there's a church uh, directly across the street from the studio. I think one time we were scouting where to shoot, even just within the studio, and we were just hanging out outside. God, you know, that's the perfect place for him to start questioning his existence. How do we get him over there? And what do we do once we get him there? And and my mother, who knows, her name's Mercy. She's the secretary of the church secretary, and I said, "Oh, she's such a lovely person. I wonder if we could do it with her." And I said, "I know I could do it with her." I had, again, maybe ignorance or arrogance. I said, I can direct anybody. And, especially a non-actor. Non-actors,
I can do it.
you don't want to work with any actors, man.
Yeah.
They're perfect. No actor. So I just told her, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you answer them the way Mercy, would answer them. And she was just flawless, just seamless. And again, it was only improvised in as much as I didn't know what she was going to say, but I was directing this thing structurally, the scene structure, these guideposts. I was going from one to the, and I knew where it had to end and what I needed before I stood up and left. And she just was it was really magical. I mean, she was unbelievable in it.
When
Just
you
right.
so what has been the reaction of your family that was part of this whole journey, that was part of the production and everything, and what was, so you see this all, you put it together. What was your takeaway? Were you like,
Oh,
I'm
everyone's.
really great in that?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I mean, come on.
I'm always reticent to. I'm not. I try to be as humble as I can. I'm very proud. I'm very proud
Could
of
be.
not only my performance, but that I was able to pull it off as a director, and then but more than that, because yeah, acting is important and directing, but it's for me. I've always felt that the writing is everything, and if it's well written, you have a chance to move people. And so I'm really proud of the story. I'm really proud of how we structured it, how we crafted it. Um, and I'm so happy to see. I mean, you can't fake tears. I'm asking people at the screening on Tuesday when I was up in Spokane. We did a special screening event, release party, and you see people with tears streaming down their face, and you can't fake that. And people emailing me days after seeing it, say, I can't get this movie. It keeps
Oh, yeah,
popping up for me.
yeah.
So I just couldn't be more proud, and I think everyone's really proud. And I think that we've had a lot of, I like everybody, I'm sure you have, loss in your life, and the nature of dealing with the nature of grief, and that major question: do you let it consume you? You can't let it go completely. No one ever gets. I mean, this whole "God, get over it." It'll be all healed in time. Oh well, it won't be completely healed, but it'll become. Do you let it just be a part of who you are now? Or do you fight it? And if you fight it, does it just like the third law of Newton's physics? Does it just attack you? And you push it away, it comes back 3 times as hard. And so that we want to ask those questions about life, because this is what occurs. This is what it's actually all about.
Terminal illness, and deciding to play a character terminally ill or to have that in this movie. Did you do any research into it and that illness and anything like that
We
to,
did. I researched. Well, okay, I won't tell what
right?
but yeah, I did. We did a lot of research. We did a lot of technical research about it, about symptoms. We did a little research with the doctor, the scene with the doctor at the end, how that would go. Um, but that was the only technical things we needed to research. Um, Mostly, which I think is why it moved you and so many people, and what, because there's so much universality in it. It's not okay, he's a photographer, but that doesn't make any difference. So, okay, some people don't have children, but you understand meaningful relationships. Um,
And regret.
and regret. Absolutely. Everyone,
That aspect of it was just so uh real to me. There was so much this man lived in such regret, not
yes,
only grief, but
yes,
regret. So you're
Yes.
throwing in grief, regret, and terminal illness, and I'm like, okay, like as an actor, that's a wonderful place to like it's stacked for you as an actor to play all those levels.
Yes.
I thought it was beautifully done, but that's what I came away with from it.
Yeah, thanks. And as an actor, it was fun to fight against that in a sense that you know he needed to approach things with as much humor. And I'm not talking about jokes or comedy. I'm just saying, how people cope. People cope through humor and deflection and all this kind of thing. I don't know if I want to talk about it. Everything's fine, this kind of thing. And I really wanted to depict that because that's what you see in people. The people that are really in the grips of great trauma or great sadness and grief. You can almost tell by the intensity with which they
It's a
deflect.
coping a coping
Yeah,
mechanism,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
Coping
Yeah.
mechanism, which is what I thought
Yeah.
was was great. There was a moment early in the film, he comes into his studio and he's watching himself trying to talk, he's watching himself putting his own goodbye together
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. Mhm.
And he's watching it, and I thought it was really interesting the way it was shot. Like you're watching yourself, he's watching
Right.
that. Was that kind of what was the setup of that? Did you guys obviously was that cool to do, or was that shot
It
that
was
way?
cool to do, and we thought, how would this particular gentleman go about this? And of course, he's got all these audio visual tools at his disposal. A letter doesn't seem fitting for this guy. He'd make it perfectly lit, perfect, and make sure the sound is perfect, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, but we didn't also, again, that's one of the situation where we give you a little bit, just enough, and we don't know what he's exactly going to say. Maybe we got an idea from what I just saw. I wonder if this is what he's doing here, but we don't pay it off until in fact, that I don't know if you noticed that bit is not paid off until credits are rolling at the end.
I know that. And I stayed through the whole thing and I'm like, aha,
Yeah,
because it comes back.
right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to watch this whole film.
Yes.
There's no way you can't really like think you're gonna know, like you got to watch the whole film. When you look at this compared to your other work in your other films,
Mhm.
I love this one probably the most because it really shows you as an actor. I mean, there's so much depth and everything going on with him. He's a bit of a nicer guy too
Mhm. I mean, then Tucker.
than Tucker
Right, right, right.
and
And some of the other film,
and
the
other
yeah,
parts he played on
yeah,
TV. You
yeah,
know, he's a bit of a night like I like, oh, because you never know with a TSJ film, I always say, like, is he gonna be like, you know, not so nice? But
yeah.
he seemed like a likable guy, right?
Yeah, and speaking of screenwriting, likability is less important than being able to empathize with the person. I mean, we could go on down the list of great films and great film protagonists who were technically unlikable, but you understood them. And that's really the key. Um, so we wanted to make sure, irrespective of whether you like this man, we want you to understand. Because if you can't understand, you're not gonna you're not gonna empathize. You're not gonna care. But there are all sorts of situations. I don't like this guy, but I sure get where he's coming from, man. I feel like him. I feel
Yeah,
like this guy sometimes. So I get him. He's kind of but I understand. So that was really, really important. And in all ways, I think that a great character is neither one way or the other. It's not all likable or all unlikable, you know.
true. When you look at it, and with you work your work on in the soap genre as opposed to doing films, do you feel films are like I just think you're such an intense actor that sometimes I feel like you really don't get the full Trevor St. John experience till you see him in a movie.
Ah, interesting.
That's kind of what I feel.
Well, thank you.
As you know, but I could go way back to all your work
Yeah,
on Life to YNR, all that. But do you feel that way? How do you feel about
it's an interesting question. Um,
Or you like it all?
I like it all. I like it all. Each has its advantages. You have the advantage of film, especially something like a large budget film where you're only having to shoot, maybe 5 pages a day, multiple takes, a master shot, and then singles, and then close-ups, maybe a two shot. And so by the time you're into your coverage, into your close-ups, you've done the scene, and now you're really cooking, man. Whereas, you know, I just shot today, and Eileen and I did a scene, and it was the one and only take. And you think, I don't know, but
We got
there's a beauty in that. There's a it forces you to let go, of the result and just be there and let it be what it is. And there's some real almost a requirement of Zen about it, you know. Do you see what I'm saying? Because
can't
it's
get all up in yourself like, oh, it's just going to be because you don't get any time.
yeah. So you either can get all tightened up about it and worried about it and really try to be precise at every moment, or you can let fly. And the former is not as much fun for me. It's just let's just go and see what happens. And you try to actually the soap work is actually informed, since I did a soap for the first time, actually informed the film work, because if you take that kind of spontaneity and into it and really just living right there in the moment, regardless of how it's going. I think it's a lot more fun to do, and it is supposed to be fun. And so each has its value. There's the ability to say, to do 10 takes in a film and really get nuanced. And then there's the wonderfulness of this high wire act of
High
you know,
anxiety, right?
yeah.
So you're getting to work with Eileen. I've known Eileen for many, many years. How has it
Mhm.
been working with Eileen?
Oh, she's terrific. She's such a dear person. I really like who she is. And I've just watched her just become, I don't know, since I got there, and I'm not saying this is because of me. I'm just saying maybe just coincidentally.
Okay.
I've watched her really start to take off. She's become so open and so open to the unexpected and the unknown. And that's where you want to be. And just it's she's a wonderful playmate and a really great person, supportive, and just super talented. And I'm very lucky to be working with her.
And you're enjoying your time as Tucker? It's an
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
I mean, you're making it your own, which is great. You know,
Yeah, thanks.
you know,
Oh
and
yeah. No, it's great. This is a great group of people. I mean, I just couldn't be more fortunate to be working with these people. I mean, these people, it's almost too good to be. Yes, I keep thinking, it's been a year and a half. There must be some jacket around here.
the ball's gonna
You
drop
know,
here.
every set I've ever been on, there's somebody, and nobody. Everyone's professional and courteous and nice, and talented. It's just like some bizarro world, man. It's fantastic. I mean, and I really feel like they feel fortunate to have me. Now, whether they actually are or not, I'm not going to say.
I
But
think yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
sense I'm getting, and
Yeah.
as a result, I feel excited to be there, and it makes me love them, you know. So it's
It's
really fun.
nice. A nice feeling for sure for you.
Yeah, yeah,
You mentioned Sherry Song was so wonderful and was in the film, and I wanted to ask you when Camar de los Reyes passed away. I know how are you with that? And our thoughts are with Sherry,
yeah,
and we've been all thinking of her.
yeah. That was hard.
Yeah,
He was a good friend of mine, dear friend, and I miss him. I miss him terribly. Although I still hasn't even penetrated completely that he's gone. It's just that stage where you don't believe it. And
he was such a wonderful actor and a good person, and
oh, he's It's
such a beautiful man. It was,
beautiful, man. And I wish, yeah, it's been very difficult. And I saw Sherry recently, and she's doing okay, you know, all things considered. And she's got a nice support system, and I'm just, my heart breaks for her
me too.
and his family and his boys.
His boys.
I appreciate you asking, and it's still very difficult.
Yeah, I don't mean to. I just wanted to, I know you were close with him.
I was, yeah.
There were certain people at that time in one life you were close with, and I
Mhm.
know it's one of them. And it's been a really rough year. That's why going back to your film with illness, and people die, it's like we've just had a really rough year of so many people we've known and love have
Mm.
passed away. So I even feel the timeliness of how this was
Mm.
released is very impactful. We've all just suffered great loss in our lives,
Mm.
one way or the other.
Yes.
Um, what would you love to see happen with this film moving forward? Do you tend to put in more festivals? Do you want where are you done with that? Are you wanting to like
Yeah, yeah, the festivals are done. We just wanted as many people to see it and be moved by it as possible. We just want get eyes on it. You know, the ambition as far as its commercial success is really just getting you, because there's three stages. You start with what they call TVOD, which means transactional video on demand. And we the goal is to have streamers, SVOD, your Netflixes and your Hulus, say, hey, there's a lot of people watching this. It's getting good user reviews. We can put it on our platform. So, that's why I'm kind of asking people to, if you are moved by it, to go to the site, to the landing page. And there are links there where you can leave a user review, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd. So that's kind of what we're looking for there. But even if people aren't motivated to do that, if I just knew that they were moved by it, and maybe what they would do is pick up the phone, and say, "Hey, I just want you to, I need to say something to you in my way, in my rough, kind of choppy way, unrehearsed way, that this is how I feel about you, because you never know." That's the deeper meaning. I would love for it to become some underground hit, of course, which would necessarily mean that more people are seeing it and more people are moved. So I'd like both things to happen. Of course I would. I'm not stupid. I mean,
was there was
but
there
yet,
was there one scene in here that was the hardest for you to do?
yeah, the end, the end. Because I had to really explore what it would be like to lose a particular person, and allow myself to really dive into it, full, and that was very painful, and I resisted it. I resisted even contemplating, as a director, how should this go? Let's just wait and find out. Let's wait and find out. And as you're writing this, and we know what the scene's going to be and where it's going to go, all that stuff kind of starts to work on you unconsciously. And I just kind of held it at bay, kind of like what the character was doing, until we shot it, and then it was just
Ugh.
over overwhelming. It was nothing I could do about it. I'm not even sure I would have directed it that way, but that's what happened.
When you
That
left there, were you drained, or how does your body? You're an actor, so you can disconnect as an actor, but your body is your body. So
Yeah, no, it was draining, absolutely draining. Also relieving. We did it. So you can just shake it off a little bit,
right.
because I hadn't shaked from the time we started writing this script. It was, like I said, it was building and building and building and building in me. And it was there. I knew it was there, ready to go. How it manifested, I didn't know, but I knew it was there. And so once I let myself explore it, it didn't have to attach itself to me anymore, and I could relax a little bit.
Well, some people in the chat, Darlene Rucker saying you are such a great actor.
Mm.
Marsh saying the scene with his daughter is gut wrenching. Marge
Yeah.
watched Trevor in many movies. Michelle, he's a very nice guy. I love you, Trevor.
I love you too, Michelle.
And
Thank
Double
you.
C said, "What's good, Walker Lawrence?"
Ah, jeez.
Okay, can I
That,
just say one question about that? This was confusing.
yeah.
Were you confused?
What,
Like
what?
at Walker and then who you were?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
do you?
I'm trying to remember.
I know it's so confusing to me. I was looking back and I'm like, you were first Walker
Right, and then Todd.
and Todd.
I think I think my impression is they kind of pulled a fast one there. I think their intention was I was always going to be Todd. And so they said, "Well, oh, no, let's name him something else for a little while." I think. I don't know.
I just have to share with you. You do know it in the annals of soapdom. You're the following the line of who you were on that show.
It's been difficult because didn't I
Was
become
you could literally do a movie on that as a tour.
yeah.
Like it was like I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, no, I'm this, I'm this. Right? It was like
And I ended up being a Lord, right?
you
Didn't
were you're Victor Lord
Victor
Jr.
Lord, right? Victor Lord Jr.
by
Victor
the
Lord
end.
Jr. Right. Right. So I was three. So was it just three? I think so. So Walker, Lawrence, Todd, and then Victor. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was still like, are you Trout? Are you this one? Are you this one? It was
Yeah.
I was like, can we just give him
Right. Right. I know.
so that was and you were of course iconic at the end. You were at the end in the bed, the last episode, the show ended with you.
Wow.
So when
That's
you went off the air at ABC and we had to say goodbye to the show, it was revealed that Victor Lord Jr. was alive in the bed, kidnapped by Allison Perkins, and they went off the air. You were the last
wow.
scene of the last
So listen, if they reboot that, you got to pay that off. Like we were talking about how I paid off all the
man.
in my
That's
movie.
what I'm saying.
How about what's going to happen there?
Yeah.
Give it a long this long white beard of 15-year beard,
Like Walker Lawrence. You're like, no, I'm Victor Lord.
right. Or I'm actually Todd, pretending.
Todd.
Yes.
Todd, Victor Lord.
Yeah.
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 Unbelievable. All right. I just want everyone to watch this movie, A Good Enough Day. It is a beautiful film with a riveting performance by Trevor St. John. I think anyone who's gone through grief, loss, dealing with a life-changing illness, um, familial ties issues, this has all of that in there. And what I mean by simple, some of the shots, the director shots I loved. There were just some great framing and movement in that. It was so confined, but I never felt like I wasn't watching like a big movie. I was watching
Oh,
a new.
good. Oh, that's great.
I didn't go
It's
like,
hard for
oh,
me to
this
get that
movie.
perspective
But yeah,
having
this movie. I didn't go, oh, this movie's shot in a living room in
right.
Spokane.
Oh, yeah, right, right. Good.
No, I really did. It's a beautiful film. So you can watch it on Amazon,
Yep.
on
And
Apple
Apple
Plus.
TV.
Is it on
Yep.
Tubi?
Yeah, I believe it is also on Tubi.
Tubi.
There are links to Tubi on the
Links
landing
to
page.
Tubi on the landing page.
Maybe we
And
could include the landing
I
page.
will. I'm going to do
Okay.
that inside this. And then I was going to ask you any little nugget for the YNR fans for coming up for Trevor, for McCall Tucker.
Hmm. What can I say? Um,
Is he
well,
really going to be with Audra?
that's very difficult to say. I mean, I'm not trying to be evasive here. When I was telling another interviewer that when I get these scripts, I'm as surprised as the audience is when they see the product of those scripts. So I'm intrigued. Uh, he has definitely some legitimately strong feelings for Audra. I mean, and they are legit, you know. Um, I think she's his best friend.
Hmm.
Talking,
And
talk about depth of feeling in
definitely.
relationships. Yeah, she might be his only friend. Uh,
That's what I,
but the connection with Audra is profound. Whether he can communicate it, whether she can communicate it is another matter. But there's something there inherent, something built up over years.
and how's Zalika to work with?
Pardon me?
How's she to work with?
Oh,
Zalika?
so like it's fantastic. I just adore her. I can't, I light up when I'm around her and she's just a lovely person. and talented, and we have great fun together. I like to tease her a little bit, but she's also open to the unexpected, which is really kind of for me, that's, if you're any good, you got to be prepared for curveballs, because as a human being doesn't know what's going to happen. And so if you're a good actor, you're receptive to all kind of, and she's like that. But she's just again, I get so lucky working with these people, these really super nice, kind people. So yeah, she's great.
All right. All right, Trevor.
All
Is
right,
so
thank you, Michael. I can't tell you how much.
congrats again on the film. It's beautiful.
Thank
Well,
you so
well done.
much. I can't wait. And anytime you want to chat, you give me a call.
I will. I will, Trevor. All right.